Kemi Badenoch's sharp criticism of Nigeria's governance has reignited debates about identity, loyalty, and the role of diaspora leaders. Her remarks, describing the country as plagued by corruption and inefficiency, have drawn backlash, including Vice President His Excellency Kashim Shettima's pointed comment that she could remove the Kemi from her name if she is not proud of her heritage. In his book Culprits, historian and author Dele Ogun examines Nigeria's colonial origins and how British imperialism shaped its institutions, a critical backdrop to understanding these tensions. As questions swell about whether Badenoch's comments reflect deeper systemic issues or oversimplify Nigeria's challenges, I took time out with Dele Ogun to explore these themes. Can diaspora leaders like Badenoch critique their countries of origin without damaging national pride? And how can Nigeria and its diaspora bridge the divide between honest criticism and constructive engagement? Dele Ogun, season's greetings. Thank you so much for joining me on the show.
Real pleasure.
Very cold, grey day in London. It's been quite cold and grey in terms of social media-wise anyway for Kemi Badenoch, who works just a stone's throw away from where we're standing. Before we get into the meat of the interview, I just want your general reacts to the storm that Kemi has created. You know her, I've met her. She is a very smart cookie. She doesn't make statements without thinking of the consequences. Why do you think she's decided to go on this path of obliteration of Nigeria?
Well, I think to understand Kemi, and I think I do, is one of the speeches that she delivered in the course of her journey to leadership of the Conservative Party, where she referenced a film titled The Usual Suspects. As there was a quotation that she took from there. She said that the biggest trick that the devil performed on everyone was to convince the world that it doesn't exist. That is Kemi's frame of mind. She's managed to be convinced that the devil of colonialism, of empire, doesn't exist. And this is the context in which to understand the comments that she's making.
Do you really believe that, Dele? Do you really believe that Kemi doesn't believe Britain has a horrific past to apologise for?
Well, you can understand it in this sense, that she studied sciences. Both her parents were doctors. Yes. They wanted her to be a doctor. Yeah. So you can imagine the subjects she studied. It will have been biology, chemistry, physics, mathematics. She doesn't understand history. Okay. And bear in mind, she grew up in Nigeria, primary and secondary school, a country that took history off the syllabus. So it's not her fault. She can't frame these issues in the context in which they belong. So some of the things she's saying are actually absolutely right. I get her. She's speaking from the heart, from what she genuinely believes and understands, that the governance in Nigeria has been, to put it mildly, problematic. That's her experience. That's what she says she ran away from. But she doesn't understand the context. Yes. She doesn't understand the role of this building behind us that she's now a principal player in.
You're playing right into the next question.
That's the context.
Exactly, and I want to talk about that. I think our viewers who know you, Dele, and most people watching right now will be familiar with you. You are a very accomplished author. You have a new book out, Culprits, which is why I thought you were the best person to talk about what's happening with Kemi. And you trace within that book our colonial origins and the role that British imperialism played in this backdrop. Do you interpret Kemi Badenoch's harsh criticism of Nigeria's governance in some of that context?
Culprits is the missing link for Kemi. She doesn't understand, because what is culprits? It's about those who occupy the offices that she now occupies. Leaders of the Conservative Party, prime ministers, Churchill, Chamberlains.
Dated 100 years ago, right? It starts.
The construction of Nigeria, the country that she's criticizing, some say denigrating. She doesn't understand that historical context. And culprits is all about those who occupy the offices that she's now occupying. So because she doesn't understand the historical framework, that's why her comments will appear to be harsh, but they're not. some of the things she's saying are the things that we Nigerians have been saying to ourselves.
On WhatsApp, let's be fair.
Let's be fair.
Yeah.
Honestly, we've been whispering it.
Yes.
As far as our government's concerned, it's a whisper and they ignored it. But she's now got a platform and she's saying the very same things and it sounds like she's shouting it. And that's only because they were deaf to reason. When we were speaking quietly, when the Nigerians are complaining about governance or the policing and all the rest of that, they're not listening. And all of a sudden, because somebody with a platform such as she has is saying it, they said, oh, why are you saying that? It's all embarrassing. So she's a mixed bag. I think that she's speaking from the heart. This is what she genuinely believes, and with some exaggeration in parts in terms of her personal journey, she believes as the true state of governance in the country. So I'm ambivalent. She's got it right to some extent, but she needs the historical context to understand the role of the culprits.
Why is Kemi doing it? I think a lot of us, me included, some of us, backing her, defending her publicly when some Nigerian lawmakers were first enraged by her. But some comments, some of us can't defend. It's even led to the Vice President, His Excellency Kashim Shettima, saying she should drop the name Kemi from her name. Do you think that's fair?
Well, I think it calls to mind something that's often said in the context of Nigerian parents. You beat the child and you expect the child not to cry. She's come through the Nigerian system that many of our peoples, all of our peoples have come through, and it's hurting and they're not listening. And when the child starts to cry at the first opportunity, and she's got the opportunity to shout it out loud, they're saying, you're embarrassing us. You beat the child, you put them in that condition, and more to the point, you're the ones who took history off the syllabus. You're the ones who didn't teach the context that she needs to frame what's going on in Nigeria.
But it's readily available out there, isn't there? There's Wikipedia, there's Google, there's AI, there's ChatGPT.
That can only take you so far. It's the reason why I write the books that I write, to fill the gap, such that these people in her position can then understand the context in which it belongs. So her criticism is, I don't regard it as harsh, and I like her rejoinder to Shettima. She says, I've got nothing in common with you. She said, I'm Yoruba, you're Kanuri, the Islamist area. She grew up as a Christian in a Christian household. What have we got in common? And she said, we were lumped together. Now, this underlines the point that I'm making, that she doesn't understand context. She doesn't understand that the culprits who lumped her together with Shettima,
her bosses,
the show that she's running behind us.
We're running out of time, Dylan, but I want to talk, as we are at that time of the year, lots of people reflecting, looking ahead towards the new year. It feels like identity politics has reared its ugly, some would say, head again. We got Trump elected, re-elected. Not sure your thoughts on that, but that's for another show.
Trump's my guy.
That's for another show. Well, he's Kemi's guy too. But, we're standing here outside the seat of power in Britain. Where do the diaspora lie then? Are we able to, within the diaspora, be proud of Kemi because of what she has managed to attain? She is the leader of His Majesty's opposition, whether you like it or not. Not easy to get that job. But then on the other hand, we're pulled into, having loyalty and patriotism towards Nigeria. Give us a sense of where we are in identity politics for those of us in the diaspora.
I couldn't address that better than this little book that I wrote to mark the Jubilee year of Nigeria. And it's titled Ostrich Nation, the Ostrich in Diaspora. I'll just read you the first paragraph, because this addresses Kemi. This species has decided that he has had enough of Nigeria. He will be found trying to hide himself amongst the team in white. He is an ostrich because he fails to realize that whatever disguises he chooses to wear, he is still dressed in black. He fails to realize that when the televisions made by the team in white broadcast images of suffering children from his continent in yet another aid appeal, his colleagues and his subordinates in the office are reminded that he is one of the team in black. Kemi is one of the ostrich in diaspora, where he's run abroad to join the team in white. The team in black, of course, is us, and thinks that once I'm in that team, I'm not part of what I was. But the reality is that you can't run from your identity. When they see you, you're still us. So you are an ambassador, whether you like it or not. And so it's much more her conduct that is representative of us. It's a bit like, we're losing so much talent, you see. That's a tragedy. She's concerned about immigration. But again, because she's divorced from the context, she doesn't understand the flip side of it, which is the emigration, the resources in terms of human talent that we are losing in Nigeria. Saka is playing for England. She is batting for the Conservative Party. If she could work with groups like My Fatherland Group and have an honest grown-up conversation as to the real root causes of the migration into this place, where our people would rather stay home, just as she would rather have been batting for Yoruba land rather than Prime Minister of the Conservative Party in England. So context is everything.
Context is everything. Gosh, it's always wonderful speaking to you. I need one final point from you. Again, it's that time of the year. Predictions ahead of next year. How long do you think she's got left? Do you think that this is going to play out well for her? A lot of people have already said she's a disaster. I personally think, she's given Sakir a run for his money at the dispatch box. Apparently, he is one of the most unpopular prime ministers in British history. What are your plans? And also advice for Kemi. She may be listening. She's got to listen to some Nigerian news.
Yes, I'm sure she will listen.
Yeah.
She's an excellent speaker. We grant her that. She's talented, she's capable, and she has been put in that position precisely because of the assets that she's got. She's a street fighter. She's combative. And
she's Nigerian.
She's Nigerian, and it's because she's Nigerian stroke Yoruba that she has those qualities, and that's why they've selected her. The British are very smart. Saka plays for England precisely because they recognise his talents. She's playing for the Conservative Party because they recognise the talents. Now, the advice I would give is this, that she just needs a little bit more education on the history. She's strong, no doubt, sciences and all the rest of that, articulation, but without context, you're lost. You're bound to make comments that are going to embarrass you and they're going to backfire. And so she needs to read Dele Ogun's books. That fills the gap as far as the context is concerned. And then she has a real prospect of going further. As it is now, she's really just a battering ram. And they chose her for that purpose, to batter the Labour Party, to say things that they cannot say. They want to say, but she's the one that can license them to say. Now, our community, the rest of us, Africa, we're ready for a grown-up conversation, hard discussions on the root causes of immigration. But she's got to understand there are two sides of that coin. There's the emigration, the root causes of why we're leaving, and she only needs to look at her own story. She was the pursuit of excellence, and she could not achieve excellence, at least that was her assessment. She could not achieve that excellence in her own country. And you've got to be honest. If she stayed in Nigeria, would she be the leader of any party now? When there is only billionaires and the friends of billionaires that can pursue office there. So she's found an enabling environment for her talents to flourish. But it's a joint venture.
How long has she got? That's what I want to get at.
How long has she got? I think the elections coming up, aren't they? Local government elections. And I think she's going to be under pressure to come out with big ideas. Because right now, it's the easier part is the combat part. You're punching the opposition. But opposition also, you also have the responsibility of coming up with an alternative vision. And I think that's the bit she still needs to address. The alternative vision is criticizing is one thing, constructive thinking is another thing.
Absolutely. Wonderful. Really great assessment, honest assessment from you there. I think you're a bit easy. Easy on her there, Dele.
No. The bit that I did not like from her was to talk about reparations as a scam and colonialism is. That's why I said that she convinced herself that the devil doesn't exist. The devil of British colonialism and slavery is real. And she needs to get out of that frame of mind. So no, I ain't easy on her at all.
Dele Ogun, absolute pleasure listening to your assessment of what's been taking place on social media over the past couple of months. Thank you so much, and Merry Christmas to you.
And Merry Christmas to you and to all your listeners and viewers.